we'll discuss about building your first embedded product. Okay, or we'll discuss what are the steps that are involved in building your first embedded product. So the first thing, or you can say the considerations you need to think of before you begin your products. Okay, so the first and most important thing that you need to consider is your budget. Okay, so how much are you ready to spend to build your first product? Okay, so here we are not actually building a small project or anything, we are actually hoping to build our first product. So here we need to consider the budget first. So according to me, a budget of, you can say, 100 to 150 USD, or you can say somewhere like 7 to 10,000 INR is enough for building your first project. Okay, the second thing that you need to consider is the skill set required for building the product. Okay, so when we talk about the skill set, you should know electronics prototyping apart from PCB design and other electronic component related skills. Okay, if you don't have those skills, you do not start building your product. You do the experimentations. Once you are good with those things, then you actually start building the product. Okay, then thirdly, it is the time required to build the product. See to it that you make your product within a time span of like 2.5 months. It shouldn't exceed the time frame of more than 2.5 months. This is because as you delay building your product, you will lose interest on those things. So I guess it's like 2.5 months is more than enough to complete your product, right from the prototyping design stage to the final product. Okay, then selection of the microcontroller or the single board computer. So what are the factors that you need to consider before actually selecting a microcontroller or a single board computer for your process or whatever project you're building? So the first thing that you need to remember is the interfacing part that you require, or what type of interfacing do you require. Okay, so if your embedded product is going to be connected using something like HDMI or anything, okay, so it's a complex protocol, or you can say complex interface. So for those things you will not use a microcontroller, simple small microcontroller. You will probably need to use a SBC. Apart from that, if you are sensing some extremely analog inputs or anything likewise, then you need a good ADC and stuff. Okay, so based on what type of things that you require or how interfacing will be done in your product, you need to select the microcontroller. Secondly, you need to remember about the power considerations, how your product is going to be powered, where it will be placed. Okay, generally when we speak about embedded systems or embedded products, they are built or housed inside an existing electronic product. Okay, electronic gadget product, you can say anything, or a machine of any kind. So you need to consider the power considerations for this thing. By power consideration, you need to actually calculate how much power will be required for your system. So if your system is heavy on power, you will not be using battery, so that you don't drain it out. Or even if you are using a battery, then you need to consider the sleep over times and stuff. Okay, so these are all the things that you need to consider. Okay, and the sensors that you will be using. Okay, so when we talk about the sensors, then also you need to consider the power and stuff that the sensors require. Okay, you cannot use sensors that are like incompatible, or you can say power hungry sensors with small microcontrollers that do not work beyond a certain range. Okay, so you need to take care of those things as well. And the final important thing is the heat and power dissipation. Okay, so this is a technical factor, but you should know about this thing if you are actually building a product that is going to be embedded somewhere. Okay, and the selection of the sensors. Now first thing that you need to remember is the operating characteristics of the sensor. So what do you mean by the operating characteristics? You need to understand different types of sensors have different operating characteristics and range. Okay, like if you consider a simple temperature sensor, so if you are using an industry grade sensor, it can offer you a high range. Okay, if you are using a simple experimental sensors, it will give you a smaller range. So it depends on what type of instrumentation or make you are trying to focus on. Okay, it depends on what type of problem you are trying to solve and where your embedded system will be deployed. But you need to check or you need to take care of the operating characteristics of the sensors and choose the sensors accordingly. Okay, the second important thing which is related to the operating characteristics only is the operating environment where you will be deploying those sensors. Okay, this depends or this affects the quality of sensors or the make of the sensors that you select. Okay, some sensors are not meant for extremely heavy temperatures, or you can say places where there can be humidity or moisture or anything that could cause problems with the sensors. Okay, so operating environment of the sensors should be considered before selecting the sensors. The third, or you can say the important thing here, is the calibration of the sensors, because many people or many enthusiasts generally do not calibrate the sensors. They use it directly without actually considering the calibration part, so sometimes there are errors or discrepancies that creep in. Okay, so you need to study the sensors through data sheets prior to actually using this, and you need to calibrate according to your requirements. Okay, and another thing that you need to consider is the interference or the error correction that could be required to clear the interference. Okay, so what happens is many of these sensors sometimes deployed in heavy electric field or magnetic field can sometimes cause errors in operations. Okay, so in such cases you need to insulate the sensors, or you need to make sure that the sensors do not have any interference. So these kind of things that need to be taken care of come under this part. Okay, so you need to deploy those sensors, and you need to check before, prior to actually deploying those sensors, if these sensors are known to have any problems. Okay, a simple Google search like issues with XYZ sensor or whatever sensor you are using, and you will come up with a list of problems that sensors that people have faced in the past. Okay, so make sure that your sensor is suited well for the problem that you are trying to solve. Okay, and finally the fault detection measures. Okay, so sensors are also usually electromechanical things. Okay, in most cases, so what happens is they are prone to failure. So if the sensors are failing, so you need to have some mechanism or a way to detect that your sensors are failing, and effectively you can change those sensors or anything. Okay, so you need to have the mitigation plan as well here. Okay, then comes the prototyping part. So prototyping is basically creating, you can say, a rough draft, or you can say a rough model of what you are trying to make. So usually prototyping is done in two ways. You can either use simulation softwares, okay, something like Proteus or anything, or you can actually build a small low cost prototype using the real components on a breadboard or Vero board or perf board, whatever you prefer. Okay, so this should be done. Okay, why this should be done is because what happens is, usually if you go by the theory of components and assemble those things, what happens is these components may not operate well in the practical situation. Sometimes there might be some errors on the PCB that you have designed, sometimes there might be some errors with the calibration, and a number of things can go wrong. So if you are doing or solving these problems at the prototyping stage itself, your final product won't be affected. Okay, so it's important to build a prototype first. Do not directly go and build the real system, or you will have to waste a lot more money to actually get it corrected if you're doing it on a real system. So at the prototyping stage, it's a bit easier to make the things. So the final product. Okay, so for building the final product, you need to build the PCB and select the components here. Okay, so for designing your PCBs, you can use PCB design tools, or you can say PCB CAD tools, or anything likewise. You can use Eagle, OrCAD. Okay, these are premium softwares. Okay, and if you are low on budget or you need an open source thing for this thing, then you can use KiCad. I personally use KiCad for many of my projects, and in places where I need to use a professional suite, I prefer OrCAD. Okay, and the PCB you can get fabricated from your local vendor. Okay, why I am asking you to go to a local vendor for your first project is because if you are getting it from websites like the things that build PCBs and stuff, then you will have problem communicating with them. and if your die or whatever design you have made is problematic, you cannot get it easily replaced or anything. So if you are getting it from a local vendor, you can communicate those things easily. Okay, so that is an advantage of this thing. And for your first project or your first board, make sure you are using a single sided PCB. Do not use a multi-core PCB. Okay, that wouldn't work really well if you are doing it for the first time. Okay, and also use through hole components rather than using SMD. Okay, so SMD components require a lot of skill, or you can say it's a task to solder those components and make fixtures and stuff. If you're new to this thing, then you might ruin the board. Okay, and that is why I prefer doing these things. And finally, test the circuit thoroughly for any soldering defects, loose connections, broken tracks, or even power problems. Okay, use it with multimeters and stuff, and you can easily fix the problems if they are fixable on this thing. Okay, and finally you can release the product and your embedded product is done. Okay, so these are all the things that you should consider while making your first embedded product. So on this channel I will try to make a few more videos related to this thing. Okay, previously I have done a few videos on embedded systems, and I think I should continue this series with embedded product design and building. Let's see how it goes. Okay, for now let's end this video. Thank you.